Carl, get away from the window. Yeah, they did. That's as we were coming in here.
This is getting real.
Everybody get down. Low on the ground.
I don't know. Jesus. Where's it at?
Yeah, I know.
Can we go in the cooler?
I love everyone. I love everyone, man. Oh, you guys. Everything okay?
The book of Job is about the human being who seemingly is leading a very righteous and good life, who is visited by immense destruction. He loses his home, his family, all his children, his livestock, his livelihood, his crops. He then is visited by disease and is covered from head to toe in boils and goes off into his own backyard with a potsherd and scrapes away at his body, alone, completely isolated by his pain. He starts to ask really profound questions about why? Why me? Why me and not someone else? Is the world just? I get the sense that those are very fundamental human questions that we're hardwired to respond to. It seems that many people in the community are seeking an opportunity to say some things out loud that will then help them to move forward.
You'll see kind of where the tornado crossed into 26th Street. Up here on the left, that's Greenbrier Nursing Home.
Oh my
I'm sure you read about that.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Here in Joplin, 161 lives were lost. More than 7,000 apartments, homes were destroyed. More than 900 people injured in less than 32 minutes. Very similar to Job, destruction visited out of the blue a community of people who are good and decent and seemingly upright human beings. We spent a lot of time visiting communities that have experienced trauma, like Joplin. But nothing could have prepared us for what we would see on the ground. During the 3 days leading up to the performances of the Book of Job in Joplin, we toured around the community and met with key leaders who'd played a vital role in the recovery efforts after the tornado. What needs to happen for this community, for not to get back to normal, because obviously that will never happen, but for it to move forward in a way that's healthy. We met with the Blue Shirts, a FEMA-funded team of local lay psychologists who provided psychological first aid to the community over the last year.
We're just going out in Joplin, we're knocking on people's doors, we're just really trying to connect with people that were impacted by the storm.
When Job is visited by this tremendous destruction, he actually sits quietly in his backyard for 7 days with his friends and says nothing, says not a word.
Finally, Job cried out,
God damn the day that I was born and the night that forced me from the womb.
And his friends, who at first were really sympathetic, start to turn, and their compassion starts to fade, and they start to blame him for his own suffering.
"You are lucky that God has scolded you, so take his lesson to heart. For he wounds, but then he binds up. He injures, but then he heals."
How long can I keep on waiting? Why should I stay alive? All my strength has left me. All my hope has been driven away. Can't I tell right from wrong? If I have sinned, wouldn't I know it?
God never betrays the innocent or takes the hand of the wicked. He will yet fill.
What does it mean to feel the kind of survivor's guilt that many people feel when their lives weren't utterly destroyed and the person next to them was? And so Job's neighbors come with those kind of questions. And then ultimately, what does it take to stay in the backyard with Job as he starts to work through the complex emotions he's feeling?
Over the past year, having lost little compared to others, but almost everything in the fact that we lost our normalcy. And in re-listening to the book of Job, I realized, oh my gosh, I said that. I said those words. I said exactly what Job said.
We met with the superintendent of the Joplin City Schools on the last day of the school year. 2 days after the storm, he promised that he would reopen the schools on time that year, and he made good on his promise.
We basically said we were going to build 600,000 square feet of educational space for 4,200 kids in 87 days. We didn't have a single lease signed. We just took a leap of faith, and we're going.
The school system stepped up to provide basic social services to all the children of Joplin so that the parents could get back to work and rebuild their lives and their community. He said he wouldn't have wished the tornado on anyone, but every day he would come to work and know that something good was going to happen.
Probably the most humbling thing is just seeing the outpouring of support from children from across the country who gave everything they had, emptied their piggy banks.
Wow.
Sorry. But it did my heart good to see that kind of love that came from children to help other children.
A man who really opened his doors to the project was Reverend Randy Garris. He's been a supporter of the project from the beginning, and he even opened up his church so that the entire community could come and participate in the performances.
The one dialogue I'm allowed to have the most often with people is a dialogue in which they talk about, for the first time, they're thinking about, for lack of a better term, I'm going to call it eternal things. When you bury 161 of your friends, when you see how close you came to death, people start living, instead of in this boundary, they start thinking wider. Sort of the theme of our culture is hey, the Netflix are here, and can you supersize that? When the need arose, people began to just throw aside everything that was trivial and take good care of each other.
In a lot of settings, when we come and do a performance, we're providing that opportunity in places. After Job rages against the sky and shakes his fists in the air, God appears to Job, and he doesn't answer his questions, but he appears.
But now my eyes have seen you, and therefore I will be quiet.
And the Lord accepted Job's prayer. Then the Lord returned all of Job's possessions and gave him twice as much as he had before. So the Lord blessed the end of Job's life more than the beginning. Job now...
Well, in some ways, that's an extremely happy result to a terrible, tragic story, but it raises all kinds of questions that I think this community sounds like it's ready to start grappling with. How do you move forward with your life and accept the great riches that come with the rebuilding that's occurring and carry with you the dead? I imagine we won't answer that question tonight, but to acknowledge that it's a question that people might be thinking about, I think is an important and healthy thing to do.
Never would I call the tornado good. It was a tragedy. But out of that tragedy, you being neighbors to each other and taking good care of each other, and you looking after each other. And so I really do think it was our finest hour as a city. And I am very, very appreciative.
We have an abiding faith in the human ability to respond in an empathetic way to suffering. And we've lost touch with what that means as a culture. We've lost touch with what it means to sit in a room together for 2 hours and to empathize with one another and to be together and to breathe together and to listen. We know that that act in and of itself is healing.
Without further ado, we're going to get right down to business with the book of Job. Thank you very much.
Our jobs bring us into contact with something in humanity that on a daily basis restores our faith in humanity.
Once upon a time, in the land of Uz, there was a man named Job. He was a man of perfect integrity who feared God and avoided evil.